Jimmy McAllister found the net. Goal for Wednesday.
Terrific goal by Taylor.
Chris Waddle, is he going to have a crack?
Oh, he does, and he scores. Still Glenn Wheeler. Aidan Fred works the Is there time for a winner?
Change behind the scenes is on the horizon, but on the pitch, it's much of the same. 9 games without a win and another trip to St Mary's that's ended in defeat. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Til I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me this week, it's Matt Johnson, not in an owl costume this week. Matt, how's things, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not in an owl costume, not in a conservatory. You won't be seeing that Pervader shirt until about March, April time when it's a bit warmer.
Yeah, you need to get it framed. Well, it is framed. You need to get it on the wall behind you, I think, else people will be having heart palpitations, I think. You know, it's people don't like change, do they? Folk don't like change, but no. We'll see. Many happy returns for the other day, Matt, as well. The ripe old age of
36.
Great age, that 36.
It's great age, best age.
Only because I'm also 36 as well, Matt. But go on then. How many Wednesday themed presents did you get this weekend?
Nothing in terms of presents related. I had a card that my lad made at school. The owl's not right, but we'll move. He's 5. I had a cake with a fridge magnet from, I think it was like 90s maybe, like, you know, like when you used to buy like the Match magazines or whatever, or like Shoot, or, you know, people were Match or Shoot, weren't they? You couldn't be both. And you get like the fridge magnets of all the Premier League sides, and it was like a badge for Wednesday one. My dad for some reason saved it, and it's been on his fridge for evermore. It rots up on my cake, so now it's on my fridge, and he's knackered that.
But there we go. What a birthday it's been then.
Absolutely.
So now we are going to, of course, be talking about the 3-1 defeat to Southampton. We're also going to discuss what Kris Wigfield had to say at the Trust Fans Forum, as well as a few comments from the Trust themselves. We've also got extra time this evening over on Patreon, where we'll talk about whether the new owners are going to stick with Henrik Pedersen or not. Obviously, we've no idea who the new owners are going to be. We will have some chat on that as well. Kind of some names have been thrown up in the air, which we'll discuss. But yeah, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/WTID pod will be live immediately. Well, I say immediately, about 10 or 15 minutes after we finish this show, we'll be live over there as well. I'm just going to bring up some comments. We've got people already in the chat. Mark says, hopefully Wednesday can sort something with the EFL regarding free agents. We badly need some in. George says, we'll win against them lot. Who cares about Southampton anyway? John, results are a negative. Everything else is a positive. Evening, Owls. And then Liam says, the Harry Amass appreciation post. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about, I can't call him King Harry just yet, but another lone player who we've no doubt fallen in love with. Yeah. Now, before we get onto the match, just want to talk about before I get onto that, I've just been, we've had a belated kind of bonfire night. Obviously, I was at the Norwich game and whatnot. Then it was the Trust thing on the Thursday, which we'll talk about in a second. We've had a belated, bonfire night. So I was on bonfire duty, Matt, and I now smell like I've smoked about 20 Benson and Hedges, to be honest. The smell of smoke is... I've got changed. I can still smell it, mate. It stinks.
I really like the fact, mate, that you've described it as a bonfire. I would describe it as definitely a council estate bonfire. It's just a bin with loads of rubbish in, just burning.
Don't expose me. People would have thought it was like a huge bonfire.
Fuck off. What you need is a shopping trolley whacked in there and a couple of pallets, and we're cooking with gas now. That's a proper...
I forgot that I'd sent you a picture. Bollocks.
Tell you what, mate. I once went... here we go, tangent already. It's like extra time, this. I once went to... it was bonfire night. We were going out in Bolton. We went to uni very close by. Went to a takeaway, and behind it, there was just pallets, shopping trolleys, and a bunch of proper scrotes, all just with lighter fluid, in, like petrol in their hand, just chucking it on this bike. This whole thing was going up. I'm thinking... These if they've got a gas canister outside, we're knackered. Yeah, very funny.
Mate, I'd like to think it was a bit more sophisticated than that, but looking at the picture, it probably is exactly the same, to be fair. But anyway, my eyes were stinging. I've now got, we've got probably another 2.5 hours of this. So if I start like wincing or anything, there's not wrong with me. I mean, I'm okay. It's just the smoke from
I wonder if Ethan Horvath had been to a bonfire on Friday, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. We'll get
if he did, he chucked his gloves on there anyway.
Come on. We're in 2 gags in.
Well, the oven gloves came out on the watch along. Thanks to everyone that did join in on the watch along as well. I just slipped in. He sort of passed it to Oven Gloves, who passes it out wide to Valerie, and at least one person got it in the chat anyway. So it wasn't very subtle. Right, let's talk. So before we talk about Southampton, there was the Trust Fans Forum that happened on Thursday. Huge thanks to everyone that came and attended the evening. Even had some food on at the interval, which was probably why people watch it online. They were like, why is this interval going on for so long? People were tucking into some nice little turkey and stuffing sandwiches and sausage rolls and stuff like that. So, I mean, you could tell as well that it was a working men's club, because you went into the toilets and you have all turns, as my granddad would say, all different things that are on. And then there was also the advertisement for the meat raffle, Matt. So
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Just every time there's for anybody who is going to Preston away on New Year's Day, there's a working men's club, St Michael's, which is St Michael's or St Gregory's. It's one of the two, which is worth going and paying a visit. You got to pay 20p to get in, so it's proper working men's club. You go in and it is literally it's every working men's club you've ever been in as a young lad growing up. You're just kind of looking around going, yes, sticky floors, cheap pints. They've got the shutters on the bar as well. And why are they all gold and always the same pattern as well? Absolutely love it. Like proper, real throwback. Big fan of a working men's club.
My granddad used to work at Walkley Working Men's Club, so shout out to anyone else that's perhaps been in there before. And so I spent many of my childhood Friday and Saturday nights in there. And again, this is I mentioned about the smoke and stuff. I can remember going home and my mum would say like, hang me clothes up on my wardrobe to get them to air them to get the smell of the smoke out of them. Yeah. But it takes me back. Anyway, people aren't here to talk about working men's clubs. They're here to talk about football in Sheffield Wednesday. Let's talk about some of the stuff that was spoken about. Kris came up and I asked him a few questions. First thing that he said, one of the big things that he said that resonated with myself was the fact that he said we've got enough money to last until January. Now, not enough cash, but he spoke about cash flow. So that doesn't mean we've got enough money in the bank now to take us through to January, but certainly I'm sure the Premier League solidarity payments would be included in that. Obviously, we've got the Steel City Derby tickets and all the other home games and stuff. So he did stress that people still have to keep coming. I can't just think, it's done now, that's fine, we don't have to go. Still have to do all the stuff. I'm sure they're expecting a bit of a merchandise bump, in terms of increasing sales with Christmas coming along as well. But they're confident that they've got enough money till January, which is a huge positive in it, Matt, really.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, James, I think it is to a degree. As you've said, the level of cash injection that fans have put into the club over the past few months has been very high, considering it is still 3 truly terrible football kits. The tickets are probably a little bit expensive, considering where we are and the quality of player that's on the pitch. And I'm sure they've done the projections, etc. But you've got the derby in 2 weeks. That'll be a sellout from our end. Preston also, which I'm sure they'll have some sort of offer. And then December obviously sees a lot of fixtures over the Christmas period for the first time in what feels like forever at Hillsborough. So again, it's all good news for the club on that perspective. But you would also hope by then that with the level of reported interest in the club, we've identified a preferred bidder. And actually that process has started to move things forward. I know that when parties enter into that particular period, often there's kind of like a show of good faith in terms of like an injection of cash, because they anticipate that they're going to move forward with it. It is good. It is positive. What I would say is that this is just the truth of what we have known for years, which the Trust proved, and the accountants from the Trust, and James and Steve did all of the great work, Rob as well, in dispelling the myth that actually the chairman's been keeping the club afloat for a long, long time. They did this way back in the summer. If you remember sitting in that working men's club, James, in a roasting hot, I think it was a July sort of evening, and it was like properly, you had a right dab on. Like, I remember you sending a photo and it was just like, I need another shirt in here for this time next year. We've known that, and we've sort of subconsciously known that for a long time. I'm pleased that is ringing true. But what I would say is that this is, without wanting to do a disservice to the administrators here, they're just doing exactly what we'd expect and just telling the truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but this is also, you could kind of go back to the previous owner. It does make you wonder, like, what the fucking hell was he doing? Do you know what I mean? I know the fact that obviously, we get to this season and we're not buying tickets and we're not buying pies and pints. And I know that has been, would there have been 28,000 fans there for the Norwich game had it been normal circumstances? Absolutely not. So I know things have been heightened and stuff like that, but it just shows you how nothing else has changed, has it really? It's still this. We're actually worse off in terms of a league position than we have been for a long, long time in terms of like the form and stuff like that. We haven't won a game at Hillsborough for, Middlesbrough last season at the end, and I can't remember the one before that. It was a while. It's not, it's not much to shout home about. So I do get there's that element, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it, Matt? Like, what the bloody hell was he doing to run the club into the ground in the way that it has, when seemingly, as you just mentioned, and rightly so, they've not kind of done anything groundbreaking, have they? The administrators, they've literally just done what they just. I'm not kind of giving any disservice to the people that at the club. They've just literally doing their job, and all of a sudden it's just like all this positivity just come out of absolute nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're also giving people who work at the football club the autonomy to carry out their jobs as well. And that is ultimately what you're seeing as a result of this, is that actually there are some fantastic people at the football club who have been hamstrung. And I know we've known this, but I would also hold my hands up here. I have been critical of the football club in certain instances, so it's only right if I am fair on the football club and give out praise when it is due as well. I was concerned that after the first week or so, that actually the level of positivity would drop off. And actually what the club and the people who work at the football club have been able to do, and I think, again, if I'm being completely honest, this goes back to people like Trevor, people like Alistair, potentially, who were there, although I'm less familiar with exactly what Alistair's role is. The communication out of the football club has been exceptional. I know that makes it. I know it's easier to do so when there are people who are willing to give you tweets and just be honest. But the way in which that the club have kept that feel-good factor rolling week on week, like, yes, don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about the game later. We're going to be disappointed with the result. We're going to be disappointed in the manner of the result and the way in which that the goals have, and the way that which the goals have gone in. Fast forward to 12 days from now, I'm going to be giddy as a school kid, desperate for like the content that's coming out surrounding the Steel City derby, and that is just, again, that's just a huge credit to everybody at the football club. It's a massive pat on the back, and they've had plenty of them, and they don't need them from me. But yeah, it's really, really positive at the minute.
But you're right, and like we did the video, I think it was obviously prior to the Norwich game. It came out after the Norwich game. The "What Does Sheffield Wednesday Mean to You" video that came out. I'm just looking now. In terms of numbers, that's like one of the highest watched videos in recent weeks. All right, the Inside Open Training one had quite a few, but that, so it's landed quite well, and very, very, again, throwing no shade, like very simple to do. It was people just stood in the corner with the camera, a bit of B-roll as well, but just talking to fans of the football club. And again, that we as a club, we're dying for anything that the club can give. I'm dying for him to do another kind of Cam Dawson-esque video with the Sheffield slang words and stuff like that. Get Jan Valery on it. He might not know what some of those are, and that sort of content we love. Is it's a whole kind of TikTok generation where it's just short short videos and just daft things that people like him doing. Get him. I don't know, eating a creme caramel in one go or something like that. I have no whatever you want to do.
Well, like ranking Christmas films or nonsense like that. But again, it's the type of content that as a fan you can't wait to consume, because you see the players, you see the staff, you see the individuals who are asked the questions, you see their personality, and you're able as a fan to connect with not only them, but as a result, the football club as well.
Let's go back to asking Fazaio Delibichir whether he puts his milk on his cereal first or not.
Yeah, yeah, it's dumb stuff like that. Yeah, I agree with you. And again, James, you're right. It's been far too long since we have done things like that, and I understand the reasoning for it. And again, I'm aware that we're trying to keep a wave of positivity going, and there will be plenty of time to do those stupid videos. But my goodness me, I'm very much looking forward to, let's fast forward to 12 months when that is the case, and we're sitting pretty on about 8 points because we've had a -15 deduction at the start of the season, which we're all raging about. But we're showing automatic form, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that Kris had to say was it kind of confirmed the involvement that the administrators have in actually choosing a buyer.
Yep.
It sounds like they have very, very little involvement at all. I've seen a few things that kind of contradict each other, but he definitely said on Thursday that, you know, when it comes to the buyer being quote unquote chosen, it's not actually really being chosen. It's literally, as long as they've passed the EFL's fit and proper test, and I think there's some other things as well that they've got to satisfy, which is literally just black and white. It's not a case of, that plan looks better than this plan. It's just, if you pass the tests, it all comes down to who is the highest bidder. So, yeah, I think I've seen comments on Twitter. There were comments in the Patreon, in the Discord as well. But people saying, "Oh, we don't want this one, we don't want that," which is fine for people to have their opinion. But I think as a fan base, we've just got to appreciate and accept as well that the next owner might not necessarily be the one that we, as a fan base, collectively want. It might be someone who, yeah. It's simply they've just put the highest bid in, and they are now the new owners. I think they could potentially. I mean, again, I have no idea who it's going to be. We might be absolutely delighted who they are. There is also a possibility that we might not be as excited as what we perhaps should be or could be.
Yeah, no, I agree, James. I think it goes back to the conversations that we're having several of these conversations over the summer in between our emergency pods, about the fact that we as a fan base have to be open-minded to anyone and give them a chance. People are doing the right thing by using previous knowledge about prospective owners and their records at other clubs. But I definitely bracket myself in this here as well. As a fan base, we are also cherry-picking information to suit a narrative. Let's not pretend that we're not. And I have to remind myself to be careful, not to be blinded by either positive or negative internal bias. Like somebody like John Textor, I've been incredibly negative on, because I personally believe from the information that is out there, you can see that this is a negative, and actually that when you look at the positives and the upsides to him, there aren't as many. You obviously asked at the forum pretty much to every single person what you want from a new owner. And to several people, the answer was really interesting from my perspective. Obviously sat watching it at home, because I sit in a different camp to what most and what the general theme amongst most seems to be, that you need mountains of money and I want the biggest billionaire that's going on the planet. The administrative team have proved that the day-to-day running of the football club doesn't need billions. It doesn't at all. You don't need that to sustain it. Money is great and it's all well and good, but a progressive 21st century plan of how to run a football club and mutual respect come way before money for myself personally. And that's kind of where I would sit with it. And I think in a month, 2 months' time, when we know who the preferred bidder is, etc., I think whoever that person is, we have to judge them on their merits and what they do here. I liken this to if you'd have spoken to a number of clubs that Barry Bannon had played for before rocking up to us, they'd have said, yeah, he's technically all right, but he's lightweight, he goes out on a piss all the time and he's not that brilliant. He's turned up here and he is now a certified and bona fide Sheffield Wednesday legend. You'd have got the same about You probably got the same about Fernando Forestieri from Watford fans. All right, but kind of shit when he turns it on. If you just
Yeah, but you also get the opposite. If you speak to Watford fans about Alman Abdi,
correct, just the player I was about to mention.
Yeah, they think he's an absolute legend. And when we come to play him, we have the preview show, and sometimes it comes up on players who've played for both, and they're always absolutely dumbfounded how shit we know he is, and they're like, literally, he was a totally different player. But you're right, we have to kind of take him on that merit and not. It's difficult to, because as soon as they come in, there's literally nothing to go on, absolutely nothing other than whatever their opening speech is going to be in the opening press conference.
It is, James, and it is also about the fact of unless they are a completely new owner into football, like completely new owner, and they don't go out and appoint a director of football or a head of, like involve a recruitment team surrounding Kev Beadle, who is already here, that have been involved in football, if they just completely wipe the slate clean, it's going to be difficult to judge them from a perspective because, as you say, you need, in my personal opinion, you need a year, 2, 3 to actually judge a body of work. Because as fans, we have been so initially, and again, I bracket myself in this, initially responsive and reactive to any little bit of news of late, because there has been so little news that has come out of the football club that actually, from my own perspective as a fan, I need to actually sit back and reserve judgment for a while in terms of whoever the new owner is, to actually go, all right, I can put that in a win column. I can put that in this column. I can say that's a positive. Could have done that better. Could have done this better, etc. And then after, 12, 24 months, you can start making an informed decision about things because, there's been a number of names discussed. One of the names today is surrounding an individual who's involved with an F1 team. Yeah,
Natalie's just put that in here. According to Simon, Finn Rousing, who owns Sauber F1 team, is one of the prospective buyers.
Yeah, which is great, but Sauber aren't run particularly well. And that's nothing related to football, so you can't use that as a barometer to go off. And the same with Ipswich's owners when they came in and they were in League One. The same with Sheffield United's new owners. You can't judge them on a really, really short period of time, and you can't just write them off because of 1 or 2 bad decisions. You have to give them time.
The other thing, and as well, and I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks, to be fair, when we've been talking about all these names, and of course we all get drawn into the Waltons. We all get drawn into the multi-million, billions of pounds, and we're thinking, oh my God, we are going to be Premier League in 2 years' time. It's not even possible, but we'll just be there. We're going to go down and they'll say, you don't even need to be in the Championship. We've got that much money. Just skip straight to the Premier League. You're fine. And we get really, really excited about all that sort of stuff. The one thing I come back to is I look at all the other people that have been interested, your Texters, your Mike Ashleys, all those people, and there's always I don't want him because he's done this, and I don't want him because he's done that, and everything else. And I look and I think, actually, Sheffield Wednesday is a football club. I think we have to just kind of ground ourselves a little bit, because we are still in a mess. Like, we are in a mess. Like, and you look, there's lots of things that need doing. We haven't got a shiny new training ground. The stadium, let's be right about it, we've at the 11th hour we got let in the North Stand. Like, there's lots of things that we've kind of brushed over that need to be addressed and need to be sorted out. It is a risk. Whoever takes over Sheffield Wednesday, it is a risk. And again, I've got just my own personal opinion. I've got absolutely nothing to base it on. I would see someone with massive wealth. Again, I want them to buy Sheffield Wednesday. Of course I do. But I feel that I've always said this, it's not a new thing. I think the next owners are going to be one to kind of get us to steady the ship, and then someone else will take over. If someone has got that much money, it is like whether they pay 20 million or 100 million. Sheffield United are worth 100 million. They've got a hotel on site. They've had parachute payments and stuff like that. If someone pays 20 or 100 million for the club, that's like me chucking the barber an extra £5 when I go and have my hair cut. Believe it, my beard trimmed, sorry. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter to them how much they're going to spend on the football club, but it's a massive gamble if they come in now. And have they got, have these people got the skill set to actually get the club back to how it should be. I don't know. I think it's also comes from me trying to stay grounded myself and not get carried away and buy flags of that nation like I have done previously. I think there's a little bit of that as well.
But you've just rounded on to the point that I've just put up obviously on the screen for a little while, which is from Steve BDI Smith, which it's not so much about the owners, it's if they bring in the right football people to run the day-to-day of the club. Because I'm sure if you speak to the Norwich owners, not Norwich owners, Ipswich owners, that's a cardinal sin right there. If you speak to the Ipswich owners, they will openly admit they know fuck all about football. They'll go, we know about it now because we've been in charge of a football club for a while, but we knew nothing about it really when it took over. And actually what we've done here is implement somebody who knows exactly. We've hired somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, who to go out and hire, who to go out and buy, X, Y, Z. I'm just going to highlight this one from Mr. Sheffield Wednesday, 1959. Again, guys, no beers. James, I'll let you take it away with this story.
What do you mean?
Because this is Ian, I'm assuming.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. Apologies, Ian. If it is Ian, Matt did send me some money, but I didn't come over and buy you a beer. So I have got the funds available to buy you one next time I see you, Ian. So, it threw me there. Mr. Sheffield Wednesday, 1959. I should have guessed it. Is that his date of birth, 59?
I would have said, 1989 maybe, just because of the individual and all the rest of it, and just to keep us off like any sort of other upsetting Ian any more than I already have done. But yeah,
threw me there, just totally chucked me. I was like, well, anyway. Well, something that did get mentioned by Ian at the fans forum, which piqued a lot of people's interest until the internet cut right at the perfect moment when he asked the question at the end, was the fact that they've actually found a high net worth individual who has put £1 million into a bank account for the club to use if they so wish to. I just want to, again, if you was one that was watching and then you didn't see that last little bit, he is a Sheffield Wednesday fan. That money has been given. The question was, are they looking to buy the club? The answer was no, they are not looking to buy the club. They have simply put that money into the bank account. They've asked for no interest on it as well, so they're not looking for an extra bit on the top when the money gets paid back. If that money gets used, the club will the administrators will just pay that back when the club gets sold. If it doesn't get used, well, this individual will just get the money back, basically. So whoever that person is, I think they've wanted to remain anonymous, or else they would have heard the name. But if you are listening, thank you very much for that. Whatever you want to call it, donation or gesture of goodwill or whatever it may be, because I presume that's also gone into we've got enough money until January kind of projections as well, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been, again, James, this to me feeds into it's been like the breaking of a dam for the past 2 or 3 weeks on all forms across the football club. It's great that people are willing to help out in multiple different ways. If it's money, brilliant. If it's time, if it's quotes, if it's appearances, whatever it is, absolutely amazing. Again, credit to the Trust, as they've been asking for backing for a long time. And I know there has been at previous fans forums a public call to arms for people to come out. And be associated when things were difficult, and there are people who did stand up from that perspective, Chris Turner in particular, and be counted when they were asked to. I'm glad they are receiving the support that they need regardless of the timing of the situation. It is amazing to see. It just adds into the big wave of positivity. I thought it was fantastic that we saw a number of Sheffield Wednesday, again, greats and legends in the club shop pre-Norwich on Wednesday as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, and they came out on the pitch as well. I mean, what was it, 6 of them? We can spread them out, lads. You know what I mean? We can spread these legends out. We don't have to use them up all on one game.
You wheeled out David Hurst and Chris Waddler. You wheeling out for the derby here.
It's going to be Majid Bugera next. Then it's, I'll be worried when we're scraping the barrel when we're bringing out Joey Pellier-Pesse and people like that. Yeah. Jose Semedo, maybe he can bring his mate. Maybe he can bring Cristiano down with him or something like that. But yeah, right. Let's get on to the footballing matters. Steve said, "Loved Chris Turner's other name for DC at the trust meeting."
Began with a C, didn't it?
It did. When I said that, I said, "Chris, we can't call him by name." And then I was wincing a little bit. What is he going to say? What is he going to say? But it got a clap. Nat says, "Where was Carlton Palmer?" He was in Gibraltar, I think, on one of his 752 holidays he has.
I was also going to say, Nat, as well. Where was Carlton Palmer? I heard Kris Wigfield the other day saying that they'd run out of beer. I think they're going to need a restock before old Carlton rocks up at Sheffield 6.
Certainly Guinness. He loves a good Guinness, doesn't he? So, yes, I think they mentioned he was in Gibraltar, I think he said he was in. Yeah. So, anyway. Right, let's talk about the game that happened yesterday.
Yep.
The lineup, as I always go through: Horvath, Max Lowe, Iorfa, Palmer, Amass, Fagier, Valerie, Bannon, Ingleson, and then the two changes was McNeil and Cadamartre up top. So Jamal Lowe and Ike Ugbo dropped to the bench. Max, it's the only position that you can change at the moment, but I was happy with that. I think it's nice to kind of freshen things up. I'm not enamoured with Ike Ugbo whatsoever. I'm kind of resigned to the fact that he's not going to score a goal in the blue and white stripes of Sheffield Wednesday ever, I think. It's funny, actually, because Martin, the Southampton fan who I spoke to, he sent me a message earlier today and he said, that number 11 looked handy up top for you. And I'm like, really? Yeah. I don't know whether we just have a negative view on it because we realise how poorly he's played for so long. But anyway, we'll get onto that in a second. But we desperately need a goal scorer, don't we? Because we brought McNeil in and we brought Cadamartre in, and they've only got one goal between them two as well this season. So even though it was in my eyes a positive that those have come in, we're just desperately needing someone to hit the back of the net in a striking sense, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've got no arguments with the changes that were made. Again, like me and you sit in slightly different camps in regards to the quality of footballer, perhaps, that we both think Ike Ugbo is. But again, I know people won't want to hear this. Jamal Lowe is our joint top scorer this season. So say what you want about the overall performance, that is the numbers on paper. So you drop in your joint top scorer to accommodate these two, who are not very experienced at the level at all. It's a different proposition with Bailey Cadamartre and Charlie Mack up top, which against Southampton yesterday made more sense in terms of the approach. I do agree with that. But again, it's a glaring gap. And let's not beat around the bush here, James. I know the stats last year dictated at one point we were one of the, we scored we were like one of the highest scoring teams in the league at one point last year. Considering the amount of fucking chances we had, we should have been like top of those charts by a million miles. But this has been a long issue since we came back into the division. The same as the defence has been a big issue since we came back into the division. And again, gets boring. Goes back to the level of investment by the previous owner in the squad. And yesterday, it was so painfully evident looking at the quality on show from Southampton in terms of a player perspective, not necessarily the quality on the pitch, but from a player perspective and the stark reality of who they were playing against.
There was one move, I can't remember how it finished, but it went from back to front. It was like 5 passes. And they all knew where they needed to be, and it was just a little pass round the corner, and it was so quick. And it was at that point when I was doing the watch along, it prompted me to look how much their squad is worth on transfer market. And I think it's on there. It's about 190 odd million. And just for context, our squad's apparently worth 19 million as well. So it just shows you the difference. And that was the point where I kind of saw it there. I put a tweet out saying that you could tell the difference in both sides, and someone said, I didn't think Southampton were that good, but it was just in moments you can just tell that they're just much better players, and they play at a much higher standard. Again, it's nothing on our players, like it just is what it is. Like we call a spade, and that's the reality, and that's why we love football as well. I mean, we're talking about the starting lineup and stuff, and we seem to play this kind of 3-4-2-1 or a 3-5-2, however you want to dress it up. I don't know whether we kind of need to. I don't know whether playing 3 striking up or 3 forwards, kind of like how Liverpool used to play a back 3, play 4 in the middle. I mean, the only problem with doing that is you'd have to drop Svante Ingolson, really, because he would be, and you'd play. I'm just thinking, you play Ugbo, Cadamartre, and Jamal Lowe. Cadamartre through the middle because, like his dad says, he's the number 9, and Ugbo and Jamal Lowe kind of feeding off of them or something like that. I don't know. I'm just looking, and we're losing games every single week. I know we can't really change much, so it must be so easy for teams to play against us because I can tell you what the starting lineup's going to be against Sheffield United.
Yeah,
it should be exactly the same.
I agree, James.
Apart from the front 2.
I agree, James. I think you've just mentioned a player there in Svante Ingolson who, for my money, is the absolute epitome of this iteration of Sheffield Wednesday. Last year, Svante Ingolson was deemed not good enough to play regularly for the football club. He's now deemed Player of the Month.
Twice in a row.
Twice in a row. And I mean this very nicely because this isn't a slight on him. He's the Nordic version of Callum Patterson. That's what he is. He runs hard, tries really hard.
That's why we love him.
Yeah. Has got I don't want to feel like I'm doing Pato a disservice here. Probably a little bit more technical ability. But they are, for me, the exact same player. The absolute exact same player. And if it was just on quality, Harry Amass should have been winning this hands down in terms of Player of the Month last month. Again, James, I agree with you. I just go back to, apart from Coventry and arguably Swansea, we're in every single game. But you also have to look at like the second half when you look at the possession stats from the second half. And if you were just to look at the stats, you'd go, oh my God, you guys were good in the second half. They looked like they had 1 breakaway chance and scored. And you go, yeah, but that's how you beat us.
Yeah.
You let us have the ball because we're not good enough to break you down. And we used that tactic to a T last year. This time last year, we used that all the time. Go on, try and beat us and we'll break on you and we'll score. In particular, away from home. As a blueprint to play against Sheffield Wednesday now, you just have to say, have the ball, boys. Like, have the ball. And back that our centre forwards consistently won't hit the back of the net because there were multiple chances yesterday for players to score and it took a 25-yard belting finish from Harry Amass to put it in the back of the net. And there were multiple times for the opposition to extend their lead yesterday. And it was all through our own doing.
Yeah. Man versus Wilder said, Ugbo's an inside forward. You've been on the inches. All I'm going to say is we're playing a right back at central defensive midfield and a central defensive midfielder at right back. So, nobody would have thought that Valerie would be a defensive midfielder until he played there. This could be the second. You never know. Yeah. Ike Ugbo could be like Mo Salah. That's all I'm saying. We've just got to play him in the right places. Yeah. And let's move swiftly on from that statement.
Can't wait till he's gone 2 full seasons without scoring a league goal and someone clips it.
5G. Right. Let's talk about the match as a whole. I think, 'cause for me, I've already kind of alluded to it. I just felt like we just come up against a much better side in Southampton. I think, all right, the defending for the 3 goals that we conceded could have been a lot better. But, have we spoken about before? Like, quite a lot of people said that, well, we gifted them 3 goals. I look at some of the goals though, and then I think, have we gifted them, or are they just better than us? You look at the first goal, and I know we're going to talk about it in more detail. All right, the way that the goal comes is a bit fortuitous in the deflection from Palmer, but the way that they get so much space on that left hand side, and now they cut it back for the shot on goal. You're not telling me that's just a fluke. Like, they've worked on that and they've had a plan which we seemingly can't do, and they've fashioned out that chance. That's what I mean. And I just think, like I said, the defending was a little bit suspect at times. There was a few mistakes, goalkeeping errors and stuff like that. And we made the game really difficult for ourselves. Conceding the goal straight after half time. So whatever the half time team talk has been, straight out the window because you concede that goal so early. And then I feel like we did come into the game, but also Southampton just took the foot off the gas. They didn't even get out of second gear in that second half. And I feel like if we had got a second goal, they would have just ramped it up again, and it would have been really difficult for us. So it was frustrating. I feel like in the manner that we conceded 2 early goals and then a really early goal in the second half. Can't fault the effort as always, but just I had a false sense of security looking where Southampton were. Had we played them last week, we might have had a chance with Will still in. They've got that little bit of a bounce, haven't they? Now he's gone, and they've won 2 on the spin now, and just a bit unfortunate, really.
I would also say, James, we had that opportunity with Norwich in the week and we didn't capitalise on it and we didn't take it, and it's individual errors again that lead to it. And again, it's only realistically, it's one of maybe 2 or 3 really incisive moves where Norwich carved us apart and one of them ends up in the back of the net. I think over the course of the 90 minutes on Sunday, they were the better side in regards to attacking intent and defensive intent. The most frustrating thing yesterday for myself was, whilst, I know we'll come on to talk about the goals, whilst the first goal is what a fantastic move that first goal is. Sheffield Wednesday don't touch the ball for nigh on 8 minutes of it. We have the ball for the first minute, we have a shot and then don't see it again. Yeah. It's the manner in which the ball is hitting the back of the net in terms of, I have no problem with a side like Norwich in midweek, one huge, really incisive pass that cuts out 4 or 5 players and the lad's clean in, squares it. You can just kind of go, it's a great ball. Should you be getting beat? No, but that's a fantastic pass. The move up to the edge of the box was brilliant. As you said, players know where they are. They've cut the ball back into the space. It's the level of fucking shambles of how it ends up in the back of the net. I'd rather it be lashed in above Horvath and he doesn't have a chance. It's the fact that we are consistently given chances and we still make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And again, we'll come on to talk about the goalkeeper himself. It's not Ethan Horvath's fault. He's just not good enough. And it comes back to that point of we spoke about it last Sunday, and I said if you can take 4 points from this week, it would be a great week. There's an opportunity to take 4 points from it. Okay, we've taken 1 at West Brom. You need to beat Norwich because Southampton had, I think, just sacked their manager this time last week. Yeah. We've taken 2, and that sums it up for me. Nearly, just not quite good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great goal by Amass, but it's clear to see where the problems lie in it because, again, I feel like a broken record, and I think even Henrik's been saying this as well now. In between the 2 boxes, we look good. Right. We look all right, don't we? There's no real problems. Like some of the passing is pretty slick. We get into that final third and we absolutely shit his pants, and then we come to attempting some defending. And we shit his pants there as well, and we just we're all over the shop. I mean, when that happens, it's great that you can score these goals from 25 yards, and it's great that Barry Badden can nearly take the net off in midweek against Norwich. But if you can't defend at the other end, and if you can't score the quote unquote easier chances, you're just going to be in a world of pain, aren't you? And that's where we are at the moment.
Sorry, James, I just highlighted this point from John Gurnall. Soon be wanting 3.4 points per game. Yeah, I think here, just because you started at the top of that talking about Harry Amass, can we have a word here for Kev Beadle, the head of recruitment? Shay Charles, Harry Amass, Jan Valery, Max Lowe, Deshaun Bernard, Fazio Deli Bashiru going further back. This lad knows what he's fucking doing.
Yeah.
I'd be very excited to see what he can do when he gets a competitive budget for the level and a team around him to help. But you then went back into that point of Henrik saying we look great in between both boxes. Let's roll the clock back 12 months. You can find any episode from last year, James, 12 months ago. Me and you are going, we look unbelievable in between both boxes. Yeah. And it's still the same glaring issue. And the reason why that is, and the reason why that's extrapolated this year, is because we've lost players on top of that. When you could rotate it, and again, Michael Smith, not necessarily my cup of tea. We had a spell last year where you could bring Michael Smith on with 20 minutes and you knew he was good for a goal.
Yeah.
How helpful would it have been to bring him on yesterday? Bring him on with 20 minutes to go, you know a chance is going to fall to him and it's a 50-50 of whether he's going to score or not. The same with, again, Josh Windass. Again, I know split opinion on people in terms of the fan base on whether he was good enough or not, or whether they liked his attitude, etc. The numbers spoke for himself. He went through a spell last year where he couldn't miss. At the minute, our top scorer could legitimately finish on 6 the way this season's playing out. And I mean this nicely, James. It's not because as a team we are struggling to score away from home in particular. We don't struggle to score. We actually really struggle to keep the ball out the net more than once.
Yeah.
Like every team, you go away to Southampton, you score 1, arguably should score 2 over the course of the 90 minutes, should come away with something. They were what, 4th, 5th bottom when we played them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
3-1.
I'm just looking now in terms of goals that we've conceded this season: 5-3-3-3, 2-2-2, 2-2-2, and then you've got QPR, Middlesbrough, and Norwich. The only games we've conceded 1 goal, and only Portsmouth and West Brom where they've kept a clean sheet. So there's a lot of when you're saying you've got to go out there and score 2 goals just to get. I mean, and to be fair, we did score 2 goals and get a point against Birmingham and Wrexham. It's a tall ask, isn't it? Really, and again, when we're not exactly prolific at the other end, it's just going to make life so much difficult. I just want to talk about the inability to defend, I think is what you have to call it. It just did look really easy for Southampton to score the 3 goals that they actually did. And it could have been a lot more as well had it not been for Adia Sean blocking 2 on the line. One that was half his own doing, half the keeper's. I mean, Matt, is it a lack of quality? Is it tiredness and fatigue, both mentally and physically, or is it probably just a combination of both?
I'll chuck in another one there, James. It's players playing out of position. There's another one for you, because remember, Liam Palmer is not a centre-back and Max Lowe isn't a centre-back. I know they're good there, but they're not centre-backs, they're wing-backs. I think it's a combination of all the 3 factors is the honest answer. I think the lack of quality is glaring. I think that was most evident in the 3rd goal yesterday. It's an isolated 2 versus 1 situation where Adam Armstrong probably has, when the ball is originally played, maybe about a 10% chance to score because he's so far away from goal. 2 players get beat, both of them too easily, and then the keeper doesn't bail you out, which we've had Pierce Charles potentially earlier in the season to bail you out of situations. You then compare that to other sides that we've played against this season, and they just look defensively sound. And, they might be really struggling to go forward, but it's why I've mentioned it a couple of times on the pod, why I was always such a huge advocate and a fan of Stuart Gray. Because you have to keep a clean sheet in order to get a positive result. Doesn't matter how many goals you can score, you have to keep the ball out the net. And if you start by keeping your scoreline to 0 in terms of like an actual defensive perspective, you've always got a chance. Whereas when you are starting both halves, it's not just one half, it's both halves of football consistently over the course of a season with a goal deficit. You rang me on the live stream and you were like, how'd you feel about it? I was like, last 10 minutes that first half, let's get a good start. Could be positive here. It's 2-1. Inside of 5 minutes, 3-1, game over.
Yeah.
Just, again, it's not a criticism of the players themselves. It's not a criticism of them as like a whole. The situation that they have been put in is not ideal. And just sadly, the chickens are coming home to roost.
I think we're going to come on to it a bit later on in terms of like the lack of substitutions and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll probably make this point again a bit later on. But you look in terms of minutes played, you've got Max Lowe, Barry Bannon, Jan Valery, Liam Palmer, Svante Ingolson and Dominic Iorfa started every single game this season. Yeah. You'd be hard-pressed to find any other championship side in the league to have 6 players playing every single game, this season. Bailey Cadamartri, 10 starts, 5 off the bench. Jamal Lowe, the same. There's a lot of players there that have just played in every single game. And it's like playing in every single game is nothing new, but actually starting every single game, you normally find at this point there'll be the keeper and there might be a defender that's done that. Everyone else has at least had 1 or 2 games where they've not started.
Yeah, agreed, James. I 100% agree with that. I've just pulled up this comment here from Liam, which is the biggest problem is we can see goals early. We are -9 in the first 15 minutes of games. And again, when we are talking about squad depth and trying to keep yourself into games, the start of games is where you should be freshest.
Yeah.
And you're -9 on goal difference. That gives you an indication of, sadly, it's just not quite the level.
I think teams know, though, like, if you come at us really quickly and really fast from the off, and if you can get a goal in the first 10 minutes, in the first 15, then it'll make it a lot easier. Like, that's where we're probably looking to get a goal in that early period. Whereas certainly now as well, certainly at Hillsborough, if you can score early, it's just going to kill all that positivity.
Great.
You know, that just all the chanting and whatever. Same this season. Because I was trying to think, actually, it's only been recently where it's been positive. But before that, it's all been talk about protests. It's all been talk about on the 10th minute. And you look at the Stoke game as a prime example. In the first minute, we're going to blow whistles. Well, guess what Stoke are going to do? Oh, score a goal. You can't just... We didn't really know what to do, did we? Like, players didn't really know what was going to happen, whether the game were going to get stopped, or Stoke just went, know what? 110 miles an hour, boom, goal. Yeah. Like, you know, that's what they're doing. Let's talk about one positive.
Yes,
Sean Fisher. Having said all the negatives, not his best performance. He's had better ones, I feel. However, we have to give him a lot of credit for, well, the two clearances off the line. Certainly one in particular where Horvath makes a right old meal of it. The other one, obviously, was when I think Horvath shouts for it. This is like in the first minute as well, by the way, and he's just kind of stood in the wrong place at the wrong time, but does well to react to it. I think we gave Iofa and Otubeyo criticism in the Charlton game for not being alert and not following shots up. So it's only fair to give praise for being alert, because for the one where Horvath spills it, you see him, he just darts to the line, and then the ball comes in his direction, stops an almost certain goal, and you have to applaud that, don't you? Really?
Yeah, I think for me, he is proving, of the permanent players that we have at the football club, and the youngsters that we've seen, he, alongside Ernie Weaver and George Brown, is proving week in, week out that he is good enough to play at this level.
He didn't start off very well, did he, though? I don't mean like this game. I mean in terms of when he came into the squad this season. Yeah, he didn't look great.
I thought he was fine away at Leicester, but that was a very, very backs-to-the-wall defensive performance. And then he looked shaky in the centre of the park. And then since he's been farmed out to right back, I know Elliot in Discord likes to keep referring to him as the reverse Kieran Lee. He has looked every bit a Championship right back, in my opinion. A Championship right back, for me, you don't expect them to win everything. You don't expect them to completely and utterly dominate their opponent every single time. And let's be honest, he had a right handful yesterday, because the Brazilian lad who was out wide for Southampton was lightning fast and really quick feet. I would hope that we tie him down to a longer-term deal in January, or when new owners come in, and he is a starter for us moving forward if fit. He is, for my money, a realistic player that you would look to build around for the future, as he's only getting better, and he would greatly benefit from playing week in, week out, being a starter for us in League One. And I would imagine that from the player's perspective, that would be something that he would be also very keen to do, because it's a fantastic opportunity for him, because he's been in the door, knows the coaching staff, knows the manager, the fans know him, and let's not forget, it's a capital M, capital A, massive football club. If he gets a move, James, where's he moving to? Rotherham? Doncaster? Bradford? I'm looking at, if he goes to another Championship club, he'll be coming off the bench.
Yeah.
If he stays at us, there is a high likelihood that next year he plays week in, week out for us at League One level, and hopefully in a very positive season.
I think he's just been getting better and better. Every time I see him, I think he just, he's like I say, I don't think he started brilliant, but I think he's grown into the game. He's whether that's just because he's been getting more regular game time and he perhaps knows he's going to start. I think he's already admitted that right back isn't his favoured position, or right wing back. But he's got stuck in there. He's got a goal as well, which is going to do his confidence a world of good. He weren't far off. I want to say against, was it West Brom he scored? Or
no, he scored. He hit the post against Charlton.
Yeah.
Nobody scored against West Brom.
Oh yeah, but I think he had a good chance against West Brom. I think
it was Oxford where he scored. He should have the one for West Brom was where he had a shot. It went out for a corner, and he probably should have laid in Charlie McNeil out wide, who was in mountains of space. But again, it's
have you got an effort against Norwich as well in midweek where he could have perhaps scored as well. So he's getting himself in some good positions, and I think he's building on that confidence, which fair play. Like these are the players that we need when we're heading into a League One season, when there are players that are going to leave in the summer. I know it sounds mental when we've hardly got any players anyway. We need to see these youngsters coming through, and we've already got Brown, we've already got Ernie Weaver. Let's add Sean to that list as well. The
only reason why I didn't mention those two, James, is because I think those two will have offers from Championship clubs in the summer. I do think George Brown's our joint top scorer. He's played a handful of games. It is undoubted, I think, that had he remained fit, he would be playing, he would have got another and would be our leading goal scorer. Yeah. Ernie Weaver, in the handful of matches that we watched him, reminds me very much of both Bobby Thomas and Liam Kitching at Coventry. Wins everything, sticks his head on everything, gets his body in the way. Was it away at Portsmouth where he was just everywhere, like genuinely everywhere, and people will take note of that. I would love those two to stay at the football club, but I would imagine that one of them has an offer from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull you up on this before someone does in the comments. Barry Bannon's the leading goal scorer with 3. Wrexham, Pompey, and Norwich as well. So Jamal Lowe and George Brown are joint second leading goal scorers with 2.
I could not feel so differently about 2 players. I could not feel more different about 2 players. One, I think he's going to get 15 if he's fit. One, I think he's lucky to have 2.
Anyway, moving on from that. Moving on from the positivity to Ethan Horvath. Yeah. Again, I'm delighted that he's here because I don't know what would happen with some of the youngsters. A part of me kind of thinks it can't really be much worse. But again, if we're going to be fair, and we praised him for his performance against Leeds, where he was outstanding, obviously saved some of the penalties as well, which allowed us to get through to the next round. I think we're also fair to give some criticism. Matt, he was absolutely shit yesterday. I can't say it in any other way. Nope. He comes for the ball. I don't know if he gets shown a shout or not. Doesn't get there. Then it nearly goes in. Then for the goal, all right, the ball's got a lot of spin on it, but it goes through his hands, and then he tries to claw it off the line, and it's gone over the line, and he's just. I don't think he's giving the defenders much confidence at all. Really, studying that in that goal, it's. I mean, I've never played as a goalkeeper. At my height, I would never have made it as a goalkeeper. And I appreciate it is a difficult position to play in, especially when things are going wrong, because everything just seems to go wrong. He's made that mistake, the ball going through his hands, it's a goal. Now, someone just letting the ball go through under your foot and it goes out for a throw-in, not really end of the world, is it? Whereas he does a similar sort of mistake and it's a goal. So I do get it. I do understand it is very difficult. The thing I see is the come down from Pierce Charles to Ethan Horvath is a monumental step down. Please be fit for the derby. I know you're not, but Charles, we'll take it. A few injections, whatever you'll need, a few painkillers, we'll get you through. Not a problem.
I think he's proving week in, week out why he's a career backup keeper. A decent run of form, a competent and settled defence in front of him, full of confidence. I'm sure he's more than capable in between the sticks. Backs against the wall when he's having 20 plus involvements or bits of work to do in a game he's found wanting in key moments. It's nothing personal, but he's not going to be the goalkeeper for us this season long term, and he's certainly not the goalkeeper for us long term in League One next year.
I think he's a good shot stopper. That's the thing. I think he's he's all right. The problem is they're just not being able to catch the ball. And I know that sounds. It's when the chance where Sean clears it off the line. He does that at least once a game.
Yeah.
There's a shot, and it almost like surprises him when it comes to him, and he just kind of just shovels it back into the 18-yard box. And then I think if you're whoever's the next team that's coming up against, Sheffield United in this example. Yeah. You're telling your strikers, follow up on absolutely. I mean, you should be doing it anyway, but please, more so on this one, not just one player, two players following up on every shot that you have, because he will chuck one at you, and if he does, it's just an easy tapping and it's a goal straight away. I think it's just, it's not once that it happens. I mean, again on the, I think it was Corbyn that came on half time yesterday. He said, he finds himself cheering when he catches it, and that's what it's become, hasn't it? At this point,
it has. I'm just going to pull up this comment here from Daniel Patrick, which he somehow managed to get 20 clean sheets for Luton when they went up. The reason why he did that was because he had a very, very defensively sound structure in front of him, in terms of not only in the playoff final but also in the league running up to it. Because if you remember Luton that season, I liken them very much to Sheffield United last year in that it was nothing special, but they kept the ball out the net, and guess what? They had 1-2 chances a game and they took one, and they had a forward who took one. In a side like that, I am fairly sure Ethan Horvath would be more than competent. In terms of, you ask him to have a little bit of work to do where he's got 1 or 2 shots to save a game, he'll make those saves. If you're asking him to have the level of involvement that we are, think about, really seriously, James, think about how many times he's asked to touch the ball as a Sheffield Wednesday player. It's all the fucking time. And that is also because when Pierce Charles plays, we want our goalkeeper to have the ball. So, like when our centre-backs get it, and if there is not a absolute stone-dead obvious pass on to go forward, guess where they go? They go backwards, because they had Pierce Charles in net last year and James Beadle, who were both comfortable with the ball at their feet. What is very evident is Ethan Horvath is not comfortable with that, and his distribution is poor as well.
Well, I'll just put some meat on the bones for you with that comment that you made about him having to do a lot of work. We have faced 235 shots this season already, which is the most out of any club. Joint most with Hull City, I want to add. In terms of on target, because obviously they're the ones that he has to do something with, 86, which is the most by some margin. It's actually Sheffield United who are second in that list with 68. So, we're a good kind of nearly 20 more than the second worst team. In contrast to that, Middlesbrough have only had to, their goalkeepers had to face 35 shots on target, which is more than half of the ones that we've had to face. So, he's a very, very busy guy.
Can I ask you here, James, who's in goal for Middlesbrough?
Couldn't tell you, not got a clue.
Exactly, and that's my point, is this was who Ethan Horvath was when he was at Luton. You ain't got a fucking clue. Because guess what? People stop shots, people stop teams before they get to the point of having a shot on target. It is nothing personal. I am incredibly grateful for when he came in.
You've got to call a spade a spade. At the end of the day, we're crap. So, if we, again, like I mentioned, we praised him for the Leeds game. Yeah. We have to talk about if we talked about the performance yesterday of all the players and just missed out the fact that we didn't think he was very good, I think we're just not being honest. And everyone's talking about it. And again, we are not here to big up the players or to make people feel wonderful about themselves or cut them to shreds. I'm literally just saying it as it is. I've not got an agenda against him because he was great against Leeds, and I do think he's a good shot stopper as well. We just say it how it is, unfortunately. So I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier on. The lack of substitutes that we're making, Matt. It's we made 2 yesterday. Jamal Lowe and Ike Ugbo both came on for McNeil and Palmer. Cads came on for Ugbo, McNeil came on for Ingleson in midweek. Against Albion, we had McNeil and Cads come on for Ingleson and Ugbo again, with Bruno Fernandes coming on at the death for Jamal Lowe. So we'll not really count that one because it was literally for about a minute. It's just 6 subs in 3 games. again, not including the Fernandes one, we can make 15, in 3 games. You can make 5 every game, as everyone knows. As I've mentioned earlier, we've had 6 players that have played 50 or started 15 games so far this season. Are you surprised that he's not looked at? Because we named 9 subs on the bench and we're using just 2 of them. Are you surprised that he's not kind of looked at some of those youngsters, even if it is for 10 minutes at the end, and tried to use some of them? Because it's inevitable that we are going to pick up more injuries at some point, and we are going to have to use maybe some of these. I know we might have got some free transfers coming in. I'll touch on that in a bit. Yeah. But I feel like it's very risky, not just playing the same people week in, week out.
I think it's difficult to find a balance because what you don't want to signal to your experienced players when you are preaching. I'm sure behind closed doors the messaging is very different to what's coming out publicly, because nobody has said, yeah, do you know what, we're down, forget it. It's very much, no, let's attack the next game. I find it difficult to defend in a 3-game week. I think if it is just a Saturday followed by a Saturday, which is becoming rarer and rarer in the EFL, I think then, yes, I would expect to see changes earlier. And we are seeing that from an attacking perspective. But I also do think you are potentially, Ernie Weaver, good enough, made his debut. George Brown, good enough, made his debut. Sean Fassier, good enough, made his debut. Bruno Fernandes, okay, it's only a handful of minutes at the end of it, made his debut. Reece Johnson, I feel very sorry for, because Harry Amass has come in, he's got to play, and he's also arguably our player of the season so far next to Bannon. Played minutes, though. Everybody else, what it is signalling to myself as a Sheffield Wednesday fan is the manager and the coaches don't think you're quite ready yet. And there's no problem with that from the perspective of trying to protect them a little bit. And I would imagine towards the end of the season, February onwards, we will see those players. We will see them come in. But when you're already 3-1 down in a game and somebody went, do you know what, we're going to hook Liam Palmer and we're going to hook Dominic Iorfa, or say that game would have been 2-1 yesterday. We're going to hook Liam Palmer here. We're going to hook Dom Iorfa, and we're also going to hook Svante Ingelsson, and we're going to chuck Jarvis Thornton. We're going to chuck 2 centre-halves on Cole McGee and whoever, and we're just going to try and we're going to carry on as we are. I think what you're signalling to experienced professionals like Baz, like people, is potentially, and I know it's just optics here, you're signalling to them potentially, what are we doing here? Like, come on, we've got a chance to get back into this. What are you doing? And it is a really difficult balancing act, and not one that I am particularly envious of for Henrik to do. Yeah, and I suppose there's an element of these guys see them every single week, and I suppose we saw them in the cup, and they were playing. They were all playing together, weren't they? It was effectively the under-21s that play week in, week out. So it wasn't they weren't having to contend with other players and other other kind of people and stuff like that they've not been used to. Hence why they probably did as well as they did. And also, let's be right, they just had to defend. I know the Bolton game was a little bit different, and they did have, we scored 3 goals in that game, and a wonderful goal as well by Guy Sekira. But there was the other two, certainly the Leeds game was just backs to the wall, just defend and see what else can happen. So yeah, I mean, maybe like what George has said, there's too much of a step down if you bring some of the youngsters on it, but like playing with 10 men. And I also, we were talking about this yesterday, I think there's an element of, if you are 3-1 down like we were, you could chuck them on, but then what's that kind of, to the players or to the youngsters? It's not really a great environment to be chucked in when you're getting hammered or getting beat, and then you're probably not going to touch the ball a great deal either. So it's what is the point? But then again, when we are in the games, and we have been in most of the games this season, it's probably an element where, where Henrik's looking and thinking, if I put them on, it's a bit of a risk. Yeah. We're in it. We could probably, there's a goal in this. We could get a goal somehow, and we're going to take a point. If I put these on, I'm perhaps throwing away that opportunity to do that. It's very, like you said, it's very difficult for Henrik, I think, to navigate around this. I'm just surprised that we haven't seen more of some of them, because we're just asking the players to do a hell of a lot,
and it's a lot of game time. I know the professional footballers, I know people will be screaming at the tellies that now saying, it's their job to play football, why are you complaining? But it is also a squad game, and you have also got to try and rotate, and I just feel like we could do a bit more of that. I don't know.
I agree with you, and I think James has just brought up the exact place that I was going with this, so I'm really pleased for that, James, thank you, which is they may not be mentally or emotionally ready yet, even if they are physically, because playing in front of a large, they are all large crowds in the Championship, they are all big, and you are built up, as a footballer, making your professional debut is like the end goal, isn't it? Making your league professional debut is like the goal that they all go, I want to get here. I've wanted to get here since I was a kid. Listen to George Brown's interview post-Portsmouth. Like, it was like all his Christmases had come at once. Like, it was unbelievable. Now, let's reverse that and say you're on the end of a 3-1 defeat and you're one of the people who's made a mistake for the goal. Are you able to stand up and move on from that? And that is a really, really difficult thing to get yourself ready for. Like, technically, my personal belief is I think that there are some technically good enough players to be playing for us, particularly in the defensive positions. I think Jarvis Thornton, in the 2 games that I've seen him, there is 100% a good player there, like 100%. But then I go back to Rio Shipston. This is no slight on him. Anytime that I've seen him, it's very evident he's not up to the standard. Any time that I saw, what was his name? Lad who plays at York now, Alex Hunt, just not up to the standard.
There is also an element of, they're not like 14 and 15-year-old boys. They are 18 and 19-year-olds where you see these young, sorts of age players playing week in, week out in the Championship, really. I know probably not as many as what we're perhaps going to try and throw in, but there is an element of, if you're not good enough, and if now isn't the time, then, I mean, we're in a different situation because they wouldn't normally be on the bench, but there has to be an element of, like, you've just got to go and do it, and if you can't, then unfortunately you're just not good enough, and you're not going to play in the Championship. I don't know. It's, again, I feel like they could have. I feel like they could have helped a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I was going to talk about the 3 goals that we conceded, but in the interest of time, because I do want to talk about the, as a potential to be able to sign a few new players. Let's just talk about the 1 goal that we did score. Harry Amass, I feel like another player that is just getting better and better every time we see him. I really hope as well that he does stay after January. I can't really see any reason why Man United will want him to go anywhere else. I know people might have said play maybe into a better squad, but he's playing every week. He scored a goal. We love him. I presume as well he's not too far away from home, if home is Manchester. So that will obviously be a massive plus as well. I mean, the goal that he scored, I've watched it a few times, and I think it's a clearance from Southampton that he picks up, turns inside. One guy just kind of runs off. Like, one Southampton player just goes and runs away from him, which I think, the fuck are you doing there? Like, he just ran off from him. So I'll take that as one player that he's took on. And then there was another one that he just kind of dropped the shoulder, got past him very easily. And then he kind of, like, obviously he has only got a left foot, Harry Amass. We've seen that one that he tried to make a clearance with his right foot and it spooned it out for a corner. But yeah, he goes onto his left foot. I probably gave him a little bit of disservice at the time. I know I spoke to you at half time and I said that he doesn't quite catch it as clean as he perhaps wants to. But I feel like you said, he's looked for the corner. He's obviously gone into the opposite corner than what Bazunu probably expects him to go in. And he's wrapped his foot round it. He's put a bit of swaz on it. And even though Bazunu gets a hand to it, it's not enough. It does bounce before it gets to him as well. And it just goes into the bottom corner. Very unexpected. I think it was against run of play as well when we did score. It looked like we were 2-0 down and not a great deal was happening. And Harry Amass is just a wonderful footballer, and we're ever so grateful to have him.
Fantastic player. Be surprised if this time next year we are not talking about one of the very similar to Shea Charles, not one of the best footballers in the Championship in terms of playing for a top-end team or even competing on loan at another Premier League club. I don't think he's quite ready for the step up for Man United, because I think, again, when we're talking about, you've got to contextualise it. He looks good in a really poor side.
Yeah.
I mean this nicely, he's not ready to play at that level. Manchester United clearly think that there's definitely a player there because he's played against Lyon. He's come on in important games for them and been involved in important games for them. All I kept thinking about yesterday whilst watching that game was, can you imagine Bannon, Shea Charles and Harry Amass all in the same side? And the realistic proposition here, and this glimmer of hope that we have to keep clinging to as Sheffield Wednesday fans, is hopefully that reality is not too far off. Players who are perhaps not quite ready for the step up to their first team or their parent club, but actually come on loan and play week in, week out, because I agree with you, James, I don't think that there's any benefit to Manchester United taking him back to loan him out to one of the division's top performing clubs. Why? Because I don't think he plays as much as he is here, and I don't think he develops as much. The partnership that he has struck up with Bannon and the friendship that they appear to have on the pitch, I don't know about off it because there's a massive age gap, but I suppose that is the weird thing about football. You've got a soon-to-be 36-year-old central midfielder who's best mates with a toddler.
He's like nearly old enough to be his dad.
Really seriously. The way in which they're two very intelligent footballers, and we saw that connection last year with Baz and Shea. We've seen that connection again this year with Baz and Harry. I'm going to be really excited to actually see him and Pierce Charles in the same side, because I actually feel that Pierce always looks for like the wings to play the ball to, and he looks for those incisive passes down the middle. I would be really interested to see what some of those clip balls into channels, or when Pierce Charles he does that beautiful thing, doesn't he, where he wraps his foot around the ball and really zings it into players out wide. Because one of the only things that I would say that Harry Amass needs to work on is when he gets into what I would call the Marvin Johnson zone, of like that 25 to 18 yard area out wide, get your head up and whip it, or get your head down and take the player on. Make a decision, because at the moment he's a little indecisive about what to do.
It's almost like in his previous games he's played, maybe that's at Man United or wherever it may have been, that I've just looked, he's only played for Man United, he hasn't been on loan, this is his first loan as well. It's almost like they play them little balls down the channel, like in between the defenders for someone to run onto. It's almost like he don't really want to cross it in and look for a header. Maybe that's what we need to try and do, because we're not having any joy from headers inside the box. But he's like hesitant to do that, and by the time he's kind of decided what he's going to do, someone's come on to him and he has to, and he struggles, and he ends up like kind of doubling back on himself and kind of recycling the ball a little bit. So yeah, I do agree, but look, we can't really,
he's a fantastic footballer. And the other thing on that point, James, that you've said, he recycles the ball, he very rarely loses possession.
No, you're
very
right.
Rarely. And yesterday, and in particular against Norwich, he's had two really tough assignments. The lad at Norwich was like twice the size of him. He's stuck on him, and he's won his duels, and just consistently week on week. Again, Baz should win Player of the Season this year if he remains fit, because he has been our talisman yet again.
However, leading goal scorer as well, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. But if there is if you could give a joint award, it has to go to Harry Amass so far. He has been hands down our best player this season, next to Baz.
Yeah, Dill says he forgot we lost 3-1. Yeah. Liam says Amass is so calm and composed when he has the ball, not afraid to take guys on. Yeah, I do think he's defending his left wanting at times, but I think if you watch the clips or hear any Man United fan, they'll probably say exactly the same. Yeah. But he is getting better and better every week. So, great stuff. Let's read the 3-word match review out and have about 10 minutes or so talking about the EFL and maybe some free transfers. At WTID Pod is where you need to go if you want to follow us on Twitter. We've got 19,000 Twitter followers. Can we get to the magic 20? It doesn't mean anything. It just looks quite nice, doesn't it, to be fair?
Just aesthetically pleasing.
Just look, a 2 and a 0 looks better than a 1 and a 9, all I'm saying. Matt says, much rest needed. Mark looking very tired. Roger, Horvath, Butterfingers. Mick's gone with comical defending again. Scott, GK mistakes, costly. Kevin says, Pedersen not brave. 5. Craig, what a goal. Steve says the travelling support quality, 8-hour round trip. Made a lot of praise from Southampton fans for the travelling Wednesday faithful. Graham, 3-game week. Turner wants Stretch in goal. That's not Chris Turner, is it? Lady Builder says, bring back Charles. Yeah, can't wait for him to be back in goal. Scott says, keeper is Bobbins. Alex, fans were class. Craig, just no quality. I'll read one more out. Gregors says, concede too easily. Matt, we are in dire need of more bodies. I have it. I've been told under fairly good authority that we are very, very close to signing some free transfers. I've been told that's pretty much all done, although Henrik seems to believe that there's a meeting on Monday, so I've no idea. Either way, it is very, very close that these some players are going to come in. I think it's Cooper that we're looking at from who used to play for Leeds. I think he's played in Bulgaria, which I think is a bit of a hold up with his international clearance and stuff like that, which we're looking to get sorted. There's a few other names that have been banded around. Matt, we're looking at 10, 11 new signings, I think we can have this week. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, mate?
I mean, can they play football? Because if so, yeah, get them in. In all seriousness, James, central midfield. Like, get me some centre midfielders to help out those who are in there. Liam Cooper, I believe was reported to be training with us over the summer as well. There's been reports of Emmanuel Dennis, who was at Watford and Forest, and I know we were rumoured to be in for him in January last year, in an attacking sense. All wonderful. I would like defenders and a right back, as in for cover. I'd love some forwards. Genuinely, I would. My question would be, as a forward now coming in, are they actually coming in to add goals? Because otherwise, somebody else would have picked them up, because goal scorers are a dime a dozen here. However, any player who is willing to come with us this season, I will immediately stand up, applaud and commend them, and then immediately slate them, obviously, for when they chuck 3 in the back of the net. But I'm now very, very positive.
Louis says Dennis Cooper would be good. I've had a look. Dennis Cooper's a writer, a novelist from... Look, numbers are numbers, bodies are bodies. We'll take anyone, to be fair. Welsh Owl said Stuart Armstrong, ?
Again, if you can keep him fit, technically very good footballer.
Steve says Jack Hunt as well. Yeah, he was. I think he was training with Reading. That deal seemed to have fallen through. So maybe he heard Sheffield Wednesday calling and he thought, I've got to go back to Sheffield Wednesday for a third time. And in true Connor Wickham style, although all 3 of his will be permanent, I guess. George is praying for Joey Pellier-Pesse. Now we're getting a bit silly now, George. I think.
No. I mean, I mean this very nicely. This sounds horrible. This is the pool of players that you're fishing in, and this is the pool of players that we have been fishing in. And this goes back to Kev Beadle. This man has been. I mean this nicely. This man has, for the most part, been turning water into wine with no water. Like, because he's had nothing to be able to offer them. You look at the January.
He knows how I feel like North Stand now.
Well, yeah. You look at the January signings last year. We know we needed a little bit of quality to try and get us over that. We bring in Stuart Armstrong, who has a track record, has worked with Danny before, and in the slight performances that we saw, we could clearly see a player there. Glaring miss at Burnley aside. Rio Hatsuse, technically very good, not good enough for the level. That happens. Who was the lad who couldn't trap a bag of sand out wide? Sissoko. Was it Sissoko?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Sissoko.
Ibrahim Sissoko,
Ibrahim Sissoko. First couple of games at Plymouth set the world on fire and then playing through an injury. Any players who come in now, if you set the bar at those 3 players, anything above that is a positive in the situation that we're at now.
Mate, I'm just looking at the free agents list, and I don't know what we're playing at. We can just bring in Takahiro Tomiyasu. He's on a free. Yeah. We can bring in Dele Alli, Patrick Bamford, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Let's just get them. Let's just get them all in. You know, I don't see what we're messing about at really. The thing is as well. You're right. Like, the pool of players that we're looking at, we're like, 15 games into the season. These players are free agents and they haven't found a football club.
Correct.
So let's not get too ahead of ourselves either in terms of the names that are going to be coming in. Are they going to set the world alight? No. I think what they're actually going to do is just from again, I've mentioned it 3 times now about the amount of players that have started every game this season. It's just going to give a little bit of cover, a little bit of rotation, and because, I don't know if you've ever had like a heavy training block or anything like that, Matt, when you're training or playing football or whatever, and you've really hammered it, and then you get to the end of the week and you are absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, you've got to go to another session tomorrow," and you're like, "Oh, please, no." That I know they're getting paid a lot of money, but that's still the same. Like, if they are absolutely knackered, and then Henrik's like, "Yeah, you're in tomorrow. We've got to do this, that, and the other." And you're thinking, like, you're all human at the end of the day. You would just love a steady day, like where you've not been running yourself ragged,
correct?
Which we are doing. So yeah, I'm just looking forward. I'm not exactly going to get excited about the players that are coming in. I'm just looking forward to some extra bodies and just some fresh faces to look at, really.
Yeah, agreed. And again, I think it's worthwhile for a second mention here. Anybody who is willing to join this ship at this point in time absolutely should be commended, because it is, yes, more positive than it was 2-3 months ago. But again, you know what you're signing up for at the minute. And it is just taking the load off those players who, let's not forget, didn't have a pre-season.
Yeah. Craig says he'd take Tommy Cooper. James says, Kevin says, pick a letter in the alphabet to the kit man and just looks for players. Gareth has gone for Wim Jonk and Gilles the Builder. Could they do a job for us?
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to next year, James. Kitman Sale. Fucking hell, there'll be some names in there. Jesus Christ, there'll be some there for the Wednesday Warehouse and for Tom Burton and Woody and people like that who'll go, training shirt 10 years ago, this number, who was it? And people will be scratching their heads going, who the fuck was that?
I'm still looking for a player that wearing a 3XL t-shirt, if I'm being honest.
Hey,
not
some
found
of those
one
free
yet.
signings that you mentioned, you might find one.
Yeah, maybe. Martin said we just need bodies in for now. Hopefully some quality on loan in January to make the games more competitive. The thing is as well, like, we are competitive in them. I think when you look at the results that we've had, and I know, you can easily go through and go, oh, we'd have won that one. Reality is we didn't. But I think when you do look at them and go through, I mean, oh Christ, I've just brought the list up. It does give you red for a loss, grey for a draw, and green for a win. As we all know, there's not much green on that list. There's a hell of a lot of red in there as well. You look, this weekend I know there was two goals in it, but it was against the Southampton side who were in a false position. Norwich should and could have won that game. Good point away at West Brom. Oxford, 1 goal in that game. Middlesbrough again, didn't exactly blow us away. Charlton, all right, that was. Yeah, it was okay. Coventry, yes, we got blew out of the water there. Birmingham should have won. Portsmouth, obviously, we did win. There's lots of games there where we could have actually picked up a lot more. We could, if we had 6 or 7 more points than what we've got now, it wouldn't be a shock. You know what I mean, to the system. So, yeah, right. Let's wrap things up then. I do want to say as well, we hopefully might be speaking to, and I shit you not, Barney Owl. We might be speaking to Barney Owl. I will be speaking to him in a couple of days' time to have a chat, and I'm hopeful that I get him on, squeaky voice and all, because we will not. I want to say as well, if we do get him on, I am not going to just expose who Barney Owl actually is. I mean, if he comes on wearing the outfit, I will absolutely piss myself laughing. That will be
blows my blow up owl costume fucking miles out the water.
Yeah,
do you want
come on and go.
Do you know what? John Gurnill's just sent the idea that had popped into my head straight up. I'll send it you via post up so it can be 2 owls sat talking.
That would be absolutely epic. He probably said, I saw that imposter owl on last week.
100%. I've come with a real one. Here it is.
This is the real owl. So no, hopefully I'm going to chat to him, and probably got a few stories to tell as well about things that have been going off in the last 10 years. Steve says, get Aussie Owl on, the OG. James, will Matt wear his Snowy Owl costume?
Oh, please.
Gareth, can we have Jerry the Berry on as well?
Please do it. Phoenix Nights quote, James. Phoenix Nights.
Yes, we'll get them all on. I'll paint my face red. I'll dress up as the bee.
Rolled around the car park all day dressed as a hernia.
Yeah, but no, hopefully that's going to happen as well. So do keep your eyes out for that one, eyes in your wings and everything else. James says Barney, Ozzy and Snowy in a room. Matt, last game of season, I can see it happening now. You're on the pitch as the third mascot wearing your...
Fucking hope not. Fucking hope not. Honestly, really seriously to God, something has gone wrong. So from my perspective, if I'm stood next to those two genuinely seasoned professionals in what they do, and I'm stood in some blow-up owl costume trying to get me fucking power bank to work to blow it up,
halfway through it just deflates.
Something has gone horrendously wrong with the new ownership if that happens.
Definitely. I'm putting your name forward anyway, without a shadow of a doubt. Right, we are going to wrap things up there. Massive thanks everyone for watching or listening or whatever it is that you've done. Really, really do appreciate it. It is the international break, but we will be back on Wednesday. We will be back on Sunday. The show must go on. It still carries on. Obviously got some great previews with some of the unwashed next week. I'll be speaking to a couple of those. I don't know why. I can't wait to rinse them and actually hear them with all the excuses that they're going to come out with as to why they are where they are and things like that. But so you've got all that to look forward to. But we are going to head over to Patreon now. So head over to patreon.com/WTID pod. Going to be discussing new owners and whether or not they're going to stick with Henrik Pedersen. Give us, we'll talk about that, our thoughts on all that, and also some of the names of the potential owners as well that have been banded around. We'll be discussing those as well. So like I said, patreon.com/WTID pod. Head over there and we'll see you in about 30 minutes time. Cheers, guys.